Hi everyone, this chapter discusses what is supervisor, following by 7 important supervisory skills. In addition, we are going to know the ways to improve your role as a supervisor. And finally, we will discuss a case study. So what is supervisors? A supervisor is considered to be a manager because he or she is directly accountable for obtaining results through people in his or her organizations in comparison to the individual's workers who does not have the same level of accountability and responsibility to senior management for the work of others. So, supervisors and line managers are used interchangeably to include both supervisors and team leaders. Supervisors are an important communications link between senior management and team in organizations. They have obtained their positions through their technical expertise and experience. Thus, most supervisors do not possess management qualifications. The role of supervisors as a facilitator, encouraging knowledge sharing in teams, is important for developing the collective learning capacities of organizations. There are 7 supervisory skills that can be considered. It is important to understand employees are working effectively and efficiently. The first skills that a supervisor should have is inspire. Employees always ask for guidance and they will always refer their supervisors as an example. A good supervisor should give good guidance to his or her staff. Setting the right example to your staff helps them to do the job more efficiently and to ensure that they will feel safer knowing that their supervisor is there to help. Supervisors develop employees through trainings, coachings, and mentoring, set performance standards, and, when necessary, take corrections actions, including recommending disciplinary actions to the appointing authority. Nobody is perfect and we will make mistakes, of course. However, a good supervisor will acknowledge his or her failures. So, this is the second skills. It should be known that the failures can be a success if acknowledged and fixed. So, don't worry to face the failure. However, it is difficult for some supervisors due to cultures, personal ego, or face, or what we call it, 面子. Being a supervisor, some employees might find it intriguing and will not acknowledge their mistakes due to fear. In this case, they will be scolded or be punished. Your task as a supervisor is to tell them that it is okay to fail, but do not repeat the same mistakes as it will affect the company reputations and business. Third, motivations. Motivating employees is a crucial leadership task. Motivations translates employee knowledge, skills, and ability into efforts and performs by determining the directions, intensity, and durations of work-related behavior. Motivation is a goal-oriented characteristic that helps a person achieve his or her objective. The desired leadership traits will assist management to influence motivations of employees. It is an important skill that helps us not only take on leadership challenges, but engage better with new people, build new relationships, and perform to the best of our potentials. Motivation is a key factor that humans cherish. If an employee fails to do a job or lack of motivations, be a leader, help them with their words or guide them. Managers tell an employee to do a task. A leader will do the task with the employee and supervise it. That's the difference. Listening skills are vital to leadership. Listening to suggestions from a team member could change the course of a task, actions, or decisions and direct it to the right path. As a supervisor, you should encourage everyone to speak and you should listen. As a leader, hard decisions must be made from time to time. Calculating risks and taking them needs a courage leader. It is also set an example for the employees to always have the courage to suggest, commit to a task, even if it is risky, as well as empowering you as a leader. Being compassionate with your employee or team member is a humanitarian act that every leader should practice. Remember, employees are only humans and are prone to work-related or personal issues, as well as the daily hassles that face them. So, be the source of comfort to your employees and make them feel safe. Be tough when needed. Coaching is a means by which supervisors may help an employee to develop the employee's skills and knowledge, and primarily deals with specific tasks and skills that must be mastered in order for the employee to be successful in the positions. The supervisors, as coach, work with the employee in a cooperative way to identify those areas where the employee might need to develop new skills or improve existing one, and provide support and encouragements to help the employee to achieve his or her goal. It is appropriate to include specific examples of the area which the employee is performing well. But remember, vagueness and generalities or glossing over the more problematic area of performance or behavior likely will leave the employee feeling uneasy and unsure what is expected. Without specific information and directions, the employee is unlikely to improve. Remember to keep criticisms free on non-work related matters and be as unemotional as possible. Even though the situation is often stressful to you as a supervisor as well as the employee. If you look at sports, there's always difference between boss and coach. Boss will say, go, but most of the time, coach will tell the players, okay, let's go. So there are several tips for effective coaching. Supervisors should set a time to talk about performance when there will be no distractions, and show the employee their genuine interest in helping them meet their goals and improve their performance. Supervisors should also aware that an employee's personality style may be different than theirs. So try to keep this in mind when relating to that individual's point of view. Supervisors should impress upon each team member that each person's success is a success for the team and ultimately for the unity, agency, and departments. They should use open-ended questions that encourage staff to talk freely about their own perceptions of their strong and weak point. This helps employees arrive at answers for themselves. And finally, supervisors work together with employees and reach an agreed upon course of actions. There are a few ways to improve your role as a supervisor. First, be a mentor. Being a supervisor, leading by example also means that you should be a mentor to your employee. As a mentor, you should examine the highest potentials of your team members individually and push them forwards to achieve their best. Being a role model to your team is also essential and is achieved by setting rules and guidelines and following them, as well as handling problems and risks properly. Second, know when to discipline. Leaders make hard decisions all the time. It can include decisions to take a risk that might help the business success, or decisions to terminate an employee. Discipline to an employee is necessary to make sure no one steps over the limits. Third, give positive feedback. Employees who achieve a goal or complete a task always look for a feedback. Leaders should give positive feedback to their employee, even if they did not do the right thing. Instead of telling them that what they did was wrong, why don't tell them that they can improve? Fourth, be up to date. Any employee should always be up to date with the current business situations and updates on the field. With your help as leaders or as supervisors, guidelines and workshop can help increase the team knowledge. Trust is a critical determinant of individuals and organizational effectiveness. Positive trust in the supervisors will enhance work engagements and curb emotional exhaustion. For instance, when employees invest their time, energy, and resources into their jobs, they expect that their supervisors will recognize their contributions and will reward them accordingly. Low trust in the supervisors might lead to employees to believe that their supervisor will not discharge his or her responsibility fairly. Such perceptions can increase the stress and consequently lead to lower engagement and increased level of exhaustion. If employees trust their supervisors, they are likely to feel confidence that the supervisors will help them when they encounter job-related difficulties. There are 5 pitfalls you should avoid. First, not planning properly. Project management is essential to complete all the tasks assigned. Supervisor's job is to plan ahead of time for every details and schedules all tasks beforehand to avoid exceeding an assigned deadline. Always remember, failing to plan means planning to fail. Second, laying off work. Laying off work is an act that should not practice because it set a bad example for your employees. It also increases the load on your team member, which in turn deliver an unacceptable outcome and a decline in productivity rates. Not giving your employee enough work. Supervisors should not do all the work his or herself. Supervisors should distribute the work per the job designations and responsibility of his or her team member. Over distributions of work might also cause a decline in productivity, as well as having your employees lacking due to the lack of task assigned. Being too friendly. Avoid being too friendly with your staff. And moderation is the key. Allow your employee to trust you and rely on you. But do not let them step over you or exceed their limits. Supervisors should have a power distance with your staff. And finally, recruiting the wrong persons. As a supervisors, you sometimes need to recruit more team members. Recruiting the wrong people give off a bad impressions on your judgments as a supervisors. You can make sure that the candidates get proper briefings and trainings before getting a job. Now, let's look at one case study called Work Stress Among Casinos Industries Supervisors in Macau Casinos. These case studies explore mind-level supervisor perceptions of their sources of work stress and way of coping with it. It reports the findings of in-depth interview with 40 pit supervisors and managers in Macau casinos. The results reveal that role ambiguity, work overload, and a high level of customer demands and unreasonable complaints are the work stresses that are commonly experienced by casino supervisors and employees in other hospitality sectors alike. Additional work stresses experienced by the casino supervisor are also identified, such as the inabilities or unwillingness of subordinates to perform, surveillance by senior management, or overly harsh company policy, and a punitive atmospheres. Like employees in other hospitality settings, casino supervisors are found often to use their personal resources and social network to cope with stress. A proactive approach of senior casinos managers is therefore necessary to help employee avoid or at least reduce related stress. And there are a few suggestions given by the case. Casino has placed tremendous demand on local employees, especially when, according to the government regulations, only Macau residents could be hired as dealers. Given the limited supply of human resource locally, casino operators sometimes have no choice but have to recruit those who are not well qualified, and the trainings given to them might also be inadequate. Therefore, regular training sessions will help to refresh the knowledge necessary for good performance and keep employees up to date about company policies and requirements. It is also suggested senior casino managers should modify their management style and demonstrate greater concern and understanding towards mid-level employees. Top management should give more support to lower-level staff in implementing company policy through role modeling. That is, by showing them how to react in different scenarios, either in a real-life situations or in regular training sessions. In addition, companies should offer intangible rewards such as praise, encouraging words should be given. Companies should encourage employees to seek help from the company when they are experiencing stress. Another relatively simple and easy approach is to provide more staff activities, for example, picnics, regular gatherings, and annual workshops, and etc. This activity allows employees to express their stress, feelings, and anger, and receive support from the peers and professionals. And finally, to remove barriers and reduce the apprehensions of those who are afraid to talk to or approach their supervisors. Senior managers could exert more efforts in developing friendships with employees through some staff activities and council meetings. This is kind of different as what we mentioned earlier, to keep power distance. So that's all for today. Thank you very much.